In the waning years of the 1700s, the HMS Nightingale, a majestic vessel of the British Navy, embarked on a journey across the uncharted waters of the Atlantic. Her mission was veiled in secrecy, whispered to involve exploration and possibly espionage in the New World. Captain Elias Grimshaw, an experienced and revered seaman, helmed this mission. His face, weathered by the salt and sun of many voyages, held a stoic calm, but his eyes betrayed a hint of intrigue for the journey ahead. The crew of the Nightingale was a diverse tapestry of the seafaring life: grizzled veterans of naval battles, young lads on their maiden voyage, and a few seasoned explorers lured by the promise of adventure and discovery. As the ship left the safety of the English harbor, the men were filled with a blend of anticipation and apprehension, for the sea was a realm of both marvel and menace. The voyage progressed with a rhythm as natural as the ebb and flow of the tides. Days were spent navigating and maintaining the ship, while nights brought tales and songs under the starry sky. But as they ventured farther into the open sea, towards areas where maps ended, a sense of unease began to take hold. It was a fortnight into their journey when the first sign of something amiss occurred. A dense fog enveloped the Nightingale, reducing the world to a whisper of gray. The sea, eerily calm, seemed to be holding its breath. It was in this ghostly silence that the lookout called out, his voice a mix of terror and awe. There, in the distance, a colossal shadow loomed beneath the water's surface, its size incomprehensible. The crew rushed to the deck, eyes straining against the mist, and then they saw it. An array of massive tentacles, each as thick as the ship's mast, breaking the surface of the water. The Kraken, a creature of legend, thought to be a myth, was terrifyingly real. Panic erupted aboard the ship. Some men prayed, others readied weapons, but all eyes were fixed on the monstrous form emerging from the deep. Captain Grimshaw, though shaken, maintained a semblance of command. He ordered the crew to prepare for what might come next, his voice cutting through the fear like a knife. The Kraken, however, remained a haunting specter at the edge of the fog, neither advancing nor retreating. It seemed to be observing the Nightingale, its intent unknown. Hours passed, the standoff continuing until the creature finally submerged, disappearing into the depths as mysteriously as it had appeared. That night, no songs were sung, no stories told. The men of the Nightingale lay awake, the image of the Kraken etched into their minds, a harrowing reminder of the mysteries and dangers lurking in the vast, uncharted waters. In the days following the Kraken sighting, a change swept over the HMS Nightingale. Conversations were hushed, laughter scarce, and the routine tasks of the ship were performed with a mechanical diligence. Captain Grimshaw, realizing the toll the encounter had taken on his men, attempted to rally their spirits, but the shadow of the creature loomed large in their thoughts. The journey continued, but their course seemed cursed. The winds grew erratic, the skies darkened, and the sea became a tempestuous beast, its waves towering walls of fury. A fierce storm had caught them in its grip, as if the sea itself was enraged. For 3 harrowing days and nights, the Nightingale battled the storm. The ship, once a proud testament to naval engineering, was battered by the relentless assault of wind and wave. The crew worked tirelessly, fighting for every inch they sailed, their faces etched with exhaustion and fear. On the 4th day, as dawn broke, the storm finally abated. The sea calmed, but the respite felt ominous. The sky remained a sullen gray, and the air was thick with the scent of an impending squall. The Nightingale, her sails torn and her hull scarred, floated amidst the vast, uncaring ocean. It was then that the second catastrophe struck. A monstrous wave, rising like a behemoth from the depths, crashed over the ship. The force of the water swept men from the deck, snapping masts like twigs and flooding the lower compartments. The Nightingale, so valiantly fought for, was now at the mercy of the sea. In the aftermath, the survivors clung to the wreckage, their spirits as broken as their vessel. Captain Grimshaw, injured but alive, gathered his remaining men. They fashioned a raft from the debris, their situation dire but not devoid of hope. As they drifted, the reality of their plight sank in. They were lost at sea, with limited supplies and no certainty of rescue. The once mighty Nightingale was reduced to flotsam, her crew to castaways, clinging to life on the unforgiving ocean. And so, the second chapter of their ordeal closed, leaving the men of the Nightingale at the mercy of the seas, their fate unknown, their journey far from over. In this tale of the HMS Nightingale, the sea reveals its dual nature, a realm of wonder and a domain of fear. The men, who set out in search of adventure, now face the ultimate test of survival, with only their courage and each other to rely on. The survivors of the HMS Nightingale, adrift on their makeshift raft, faced the relentless sun by day and the chilling cold by night. Rations of food and fresh water were meager, salvaged from the wreckage, and each passing day tested their resolve. Captain Grimshaw, though weakened by his injuries, maintained a semblance of command, rationing supplies and offering words of encouragement, his leadership a beacon of hope in their dire circumstances. Days turned to weeks, and the vast ocean offered no sign of salvation. The men, once robust and full of life, grew gaunt and weary. Despair crept into their hearts, as the endless horizon yielded nothing but water and sky. Yet, amidst this desolation, tales of their encounter with the Kraken were recounted, not with fear, but as a testament to their survival against impossible odds. It became a symbol of their resilience, a story of man's indomitable spirit in the face of nature's wrath. One fateful morning, as a hazy dawn broke, a cry of joy pierced the somber silence. "Land!" The words spread like wildfire, igniting a flicker of hope in their beleaguered hearts. In the distance, the outline of an island emerged, a haven in the vast blue desert. The men rallied, using their remaining strength to paddle the raft towards this promise of refuge. As they neared the island, its features became discernible, lush greenery fringed by a golden beach. The raft finally washed ashore, and the men collapsed on the sand, overwhelmed by a mix of relief and exhaustion. The island, uninhabited and wild, offered fresh water and fruit in abundance, a natural respite from their ordeal at sea. Months passed on the isolated island, and the men of the HMS Nightingale had grown accustomed to their new life. They had built a small settlement, living off the land and sea, with Captain Grimshaw acting as the leader of this unintended colony. The hope of rescue, once fervent in their hearts, had faded, replaced by a resigned acceptance of their fate. One serene evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the island in hues of gold and crimson, an unusual calm settled over the sea. The men gathered on the beach, drawn by an inexplicable sense of anticipation. The air was charged with a strange energy, and the ocean, usually a rhythmic symphony of waves, was silent, as if waiting for something momentous to occur. Suddenly, the water began to stir, and a low rumble echoed from the depths. The men watched, transfixed, as the water's surface began to swirl and froth. From the center of the disturbance, a massive shape emerged, its form obscured by the gathering twilight. It was the Kraken, the colossal leviathan that had haunted their journey and now appeared before them in all its terrifying majesty. But there was something different about the creature. Its movements were slow, almost graceful, and its tentacles, which once struck fear into their hearts, now reached toward the sky in a display of otherworldly beauty. Captain Grimshaw stepped forward, his eyes locked with the creature's. In that moment, a profound understanding passed between man and beast. The Kraken, once thought to be a mindless monster, possessed a deep intelligence, a consciousness that spanned the ages. It had been watching them, guarding them since their shipwreck, a silent sentinel of the deep. The Kraken began to emit a low, melodic sound, a song of the sea that resonated with the men's souls. It was a song of ancient times, of worlds beneath the waves, of secrets held in the ocean's embrace. The men listened, spellbound, as the creature communicated its tale, a story of loneliness and longing, of its role as the keeper of the sea's mysteries. As the song faded, the Kraken gently submerged, disappearing back into the depths from which it came. The men stood in silence, a sense of awe and reverence enveloping them. They realized they had been part of something extraordinary, witnesses to a truth few would ever know. In the days that followed, the men of the Nightingale felt a shift in their existence. The encounter with the Kraken had changed them, imbuing their lives with a sense of purpose and connection to the sea. They continued to live on the island, no longer as castaways, but as custodians of the secret they had been entrusted with. Years later, when a passing ship finally discovered the island and offered rescue, many of the men chose to stay, bound to the island and the sea by a profound bond. Captain Grimshaw, along with a few others, returned to civilization, carrying with them the tale of their journey, a story not of hardship and survival, but of wonder and revelation. And so, the legend of the HMS Nightingale and her crew took on a new meaning, a narrative not of a battle against a sea monster, but of an encounter with a guardian of the deep, a sentient being that bridged the world of man and the mysteries of the ocean. The Kraken, once a symbol of fear, had become a symbol of understanding and respect, a reminder of the unspoken pact between humanity and the vast, uncharted waters of the sea.